Hi guys, it's Tim and Andrew with Big Shoulders. We're here for our first episode of Coffee Break. Today we got the man, the myth, the legend, the Rico Suave of Big Shoulders Coffee. It's Tim Coonan. Welcome, boss.
Thanks. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, obviously we know where we work, but in your own words, tell us a little bit about Big Shoulders.
Okay. Depends on how deep you want to go here.
Oh, give me the Cliff Notes.
Okay. The kids had it down at the Chicago Montessori School. The coffee, the history of coffee. Big Shoulders Coffee. Okay, so Big Shoulders Coffee. So I used to be a chef, and I used to kind of goof around with roasting coffee, home roasting coffee. That was about 25 years ago. People started to kind of get an interest in that around the holidays. I had friends and family. I'd roast some coffee for them, throw it in a Ziploc bag, really high tech, and give it out as gifts after our annual Christmas party. People really kind of responded to that, and they wanted more of it. So really, the genesis of Big Shoulders Coffee is 15 or 16, maybe longer than that, maybe like 18 years ago. Rode around on my bicycle delivering bags of coffee to people, dropping it on their doorstep, and they'd put $10 under the geranium, and that's kind of where it started. Patricia and I also noticed at the time we really like coffee shop culture, so we really like going into cafes and having coffee, and we like the kind of morning ritual that happens around coffee, and kind of some of the collaborative nature that coffee brings with having meetings with other people and conducting really interesting conversations or whatnot. But the part that we didn't like was kind of the customer experience, the guest experience, the service part of it, where it was more kind of disconnected with what we were looking for value-wise, with like having a great cup of coffee, and really felt like in some cases it felt like you were bothering the barista or the person behind the counter, and it's exciting to see how that has changed. But 15, 20 years ago, that was not the case.
Yeah. Well, I guess maybe that's my first question, because I really want to dive into kind of hospitality, because obviously that's something we really kind of pulled close to us here. So like, I guess in what ways do you think that's changed from, say, like 2012, when we were just starting to kind of put together Big Shoulders, to now, just in the coffee world as a whole,
So that's awesome. We were doing really groundbreaking stuff back then, like clearing away plates and taking people a glass of water, and people were just like shocked that we would do that. We didn't have a bus tub over in the corner with a hand printed sign that said, drop your dirty dishes here or whatever. We did that, and so we really wanted to take responsibility for caring for the guest while they were under our roof. And so that really goes back to my culinary days. So I was fortunate enough to work in some really very nice high-level restaurants here in Chicago and New York and in Europe, and learned a ton about. So I'll probably be the first former chef. I wouldn't call myself a chef anymore, but during the time when I was a chef, I would have been the first one to say that it's not about the food. Food is secondary. And really, that's kind of our approach too at Big Shoulders. The coffee is secondary. That doesn't mean that we don't care about the coffee or we're not thoughtful about the coffee, but we are definitely a brand where hospitality is woven into everything we do, from the cafe level to the wholesale customer level to the online level. So inevitably, we will make mistakes, and it's an opportunity to gracefully recover from those mistakes. And that's really the kind of the beautiful tension that exists in hospitality, is the recovery. When I was a chef, I would be the first one at the restaurant, and I really cherished that morning time because I would get a cup of coffee, I'd walk around the restaurant, make sure the clothes was done properly, make sure that, we were clean and sanitary and organized and prepared for the day. I could quickly do a visual inventory of what we were doing, but also more importantly, I greeted every one of the cooks
Yeah.
at the back door. So they would ring the back door. I'd go and see them, make sure that they were in a good headspace. They weren't hungover. Didn't have, they weren't dirty or, unpresentable because we wanted to look good too with open kitchens. But were they hungry? Are they bringing baggage from home? What problems are they working through? Are we prepared? Because we're not prepared to offer, if we're not prepared for ourselves to offer up hospitality, we can't offer that experience to the guest.
Yeah.
So that's really where this idea of internal and external hospitality originates from. And it's also tied to just this greater experience of going to places like Zingerman's and in Ann Arbor and all the great restaurants in Chicago that are executing at a very high level. We see that currently, really, it's magnified by Will Jadara in his book Unreasonable Hospitality.
Yeah.
So don't want to give him a plug. He's got enough shit going on. That's good for him. But that's really this really distilled down to what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So in the coffee world 15 years ago, that didn't exist.
Yeah.
And you'd have the barista that was behind the counter with, beanie, facial hair, piercings, tattoos, none of which I have. But you're lovely. I love you. The poster child.
What
right?
can I say?
So you'd have that sort of stereotype, reading Tolstoy, and it's just like, you're bothering me. You're like, and so we wanted to bring our experience of places like Spiaggia and Gordon and the Rainbow Room and the places I worked at in France. We wanted to bring that experience to coffee as best we could. I mean, it's in a lot of ways it's impossible, right? Because it's a quick transaction. You're you're churning and burning. It's a $3 or $4 transaction, for God's sakes. Why would you even bend over backwards to do anything about that? And it probably has more to do with each other internally than it does externally, because we want to work at good places, right? We want to work in a place where we want to come to. I truly get excited about getting out of bed every morning, and the adventure that's going to happen, the adventure that's going to transpire at work. And we've got just, even here at the warehouse, we've got, just lovely people that we're working with. We care about each other. Doesn't mean we don't have conflict, but we're trying to provide the best hospitality experience for each other. And that's super important.
I mean, honestly, it's really good to see like where coffee shop culture and hospitality was 15 years ago, and where it's gotten to. But I guess my next thought is, okay, well, what are the problems that we still have? I mean, I think it's still always going to be a problem of, like you said, it's that churn and burn on both sides of the counter, honestly.
Yeah.
But like, I guess maybe that's my question for you, and honestly for you, if you have like kind of thoughts too of like, when you go into a coffee shop, what are the things that you're like, okay, this isn't a good hospitality experience? You can call people out if you want to. That'd be really funny, but
I won't. I can't. But I'm looking for organization. I'm looking for like flow, like organization, cleanliness, the same sort of things that I would look for in a restaurant experience. Like, if I go to the bathroom and it's like funky and like, broken toilet and backed up toilet or something like that, like that only kind of like, I'm wondering what the hell is going on in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I want to leave.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at high level, like, like I don't care what people look like. Well, it's, just like, so we have all these, it's amazing how like it's a so back when so I'm generationally I'm much older than you, but back when I worked for places that were like you had to cut your hair and you had
Yeah.
to you still had to live by a dress code, even though you might be out of public sight, out of public view. Like if I can remember working like, oh, your hair's touching your collar. Like, really? Seriously? I got to cut my hair. So in fact, Kate, our daughter, says that if her drink isn't made by somebody that looks weird, that it's probably not a good drink. So it's just just kind of her sort of guide for a good experience.
Yeah.
So I would tend to agree with that. So you want to have we're not looking for the USC cheerleaders here. We're looking for people that are competent and know what they're doing and can also be friendly and just they don't have to be over the top, but it just has to be like good enough and actually just a touch better than good enough. And that's really, and then tomorrow has to be a touch better than the touch better of good enough. So as long as we're progressing in micro and glacial sort of micro movements, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But this I think our industry attracts a lot of people that have just a lot of different backgrounds. Generally, coffee in general. I mean, like when I was 18 and smoking clove cigarettes and going to cafes and listening to the Clash, really groundbreaking, the Alarm, like check that one out, the Alarm, great Scottish band,
Never,
like
never
the only Scottish band ever, like they're gonna sell like 10 Spotify spots, and
what are they called? The Alarm.
The Alarm. Oh yeah,
The Alarm. Yeah, sponsor us.
Yeah, the Alarm. So
I want a cut of the check.
I've got
Here's my teeth.
let me get here's a dime. No, I think that so it's always attracted a kind of a counterculture, a counter movement. Not a plug to counterculture, but a revolutionary. I mean, that's the coffee world. Coffee shops, even in the 1700s.
Yeah, literally.
Literally. I mean, it's like freaking. We're sitting around talking about the revolution. So that's the world we exist in.
Yeah.
And it's in a lot of ways, those are the people that work there. They're alternative thinkers. They're different. They're not normal, and I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying that to be like to applaud them.
Yeah.
That they're not seeking the main road. They're seeking the small side streets to get to the destination that they're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's always been people that are on the fringes, I guess. I don't know. I feel like
Starbucks. I mean, even up into say the 50s or 60s. You had like beatniks and jazz musicians and people that smoked pot. Like that was like ooh, that was wild back then. Not obviously not so much now, but it was always around universities and inner cities where you get this literally a melting pot of cultures and people and danger and excitement. And so that's our world.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. As hospitality professionals, allowing the individual to be a little bit more themselves, do you think that that's influenced the customer experience at all?
Yeah, I think that's a really great point, Andrew, because I think that allowing people to perform naturally is really important. So like we don't have a uniform, like we don't even have like wear this hat or wear this apron kind of thing. That's fine. I mean, we know those brands that do that, and that's everybody's working hard. We don't want to like call people out for like they're doing it wrong. But that's just not what I want to do. I want to celebrate the diversity that we have, but I also want to let people, like, I find that if people are more comfortable doing what they need to do, and they're more comfortable in their own skin, then they're going to be more enthusiastic about the work that we're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's especially for like a specialty coffee shop.
We get in the garbage truck here. We're getting like,
Especially for like a coffee shop, I think in 2026, it's like if I don't come in and feel like, not even from the like staff, but from the whole experience, that they want me to be there and that they like value me being there and like what I'm getting, the time it takes, like all of those pieces, like what are we doing,
yeah,
and I think that's maybe where it's not, I don't know, I feel like in 2026 it's not just like the bar for entry is like, are you personable? But like actually doing it well, I think is like, okay, we're kind of thinking of like the whole picture at this point, So it's like, do you have like, not do you, oh, I got these super cool cups that all cost $10 each or whatever, and they're hand thrown ceramics from somebody down the street, but it's like, it's actually, it's served in a nice cup. It is
yeah,
served like,
those are nice. Those are nice touches.
but I think they have to work in tandem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you're relying on that without delivering the baseline experience,
Yeah.
then that's disingenuous.
Yeah. I know that we've probably all been in those shops where they do focus on that, and then it turns into, okay, well, this just feels like somewhere that I'm going to post on Instagram, or I'm going to see in some list of cool coffee shops that open this year. And, those are the places that aren't going to remember their regulars. They're not going to like want to have the conversations about what they're doing. I immediately think of like when you were telling us about when you went to Dublin to Mantle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, they didn't know you, obviously, but
Well, I
taking the
could barely
time to,
understand like every other word that they said because, like my Irish brothers, like, yes, that's great.
but like taking the time to, like talk about like what they're doing.
Oh my
and-
God, they were talking like crazy.
Yeah.
and so fast and so thick that it was like, okay, I caught a couple words there, amazing. But it was really clear that they were passionate and excitable about what they were doing. That really came through with just the whole experience. It was so beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we going with this? What do we do next?
We're just hanging out. I
yeah.
mean, time for a coffee break. Andrew's coming over here with our lovely May monthly coffee. You want to tell us a little bit about this coffee, Andrew?
Yeah, so this is a washed churroso from Colombia. Churroso is like a varietal it's a mutation of an Ethiopian landrace varietal that happened in Colombia. There's a little bit of kind of fuzziness of that story and how it came about, but it's a varietal that's like really known for these really clean, bright, tropical fruit notes. We're kind of getting the same here. A little bit more kind of a caramel tone on the finish than I've had in a lot of churrosos. Actually, I kind of like that. I think it kind of leans into our style of roasting and kind of highlights what we do best. But as a whole, we've kind of started to change how we're purchasing coffee and how we're rolling that out to the public. And that probably happened about the first of the year. Tim, would you like to elaborate a little bit more on kind of our seasonal selection and our monthly drop that we're doing here?
So green coffee purchasing has been really challenging over the course of the last about year and a half. So variety of things happening in the world, election cycle, U.S. election cycle, problems in Brazil and Vietnam, the two leading producers of coffee. And even though Vietnam produces mostly Robusta, that affects the C market. So this, like coffee like this, we don't even pay attention to the C market. So this is really kind of coffee that gets purchased in smaller quantities that we can blow through this style of coffee, so the monthly drop. But that's kind of loosening a little bit. The restrictions that have made put pressure on both quality and price are loosening a little bit here, which is really nice to see. We could have a whole entire show about farmers, what's fair. We can dive deep into, colonialism, all those problems, and there are problems that I don't have the answers for. Um, and there are people that do this that are way more educated than I am, but it's something that I am paying attention to and learning myself about how just these things didn't really permeate our world 10, 15 years ago, because we were just joyously buying coffee off the sea market at $2.50 a pound, and it was like, and we're running a business and being coffee roasters, and so that's changed quite a bit. The market has become more challenging, competition has become more challenging, but also we've come out of our own sort of naive participation in that, and our eyes are being opened to the challenges that are happening. We're a small family business, and we're dealing with, in a lot of cases, small family businesses, thousands of miles away, that are dealing with the exact same challenges that we're dealing with: labor, overhead, you know, challenges with transportation, all that sort of stuff. And all those things are really being amplified right now with the war in the Middle East, and just tariffs, and the challenges that are occurring from our leadership in Washington. So without getting too deep there, we've decided to kind of look for really wonderful gems of coffee and celebrate those monthly. So these are coffees that are really, quite honestly, generally coming from younger farmers that are being innovative and incorporating techniques into coffee processing at the farm level. And so they're coming to us, the coffees are arriving to us, and they're really interesting. They're really super flavorful. They're coffees that are incorporating winemaking techniques, fermentation, yeasts, anaerobic fermentation, that are creating really interesting notes. Some of those are less interesting to me personally, but there's a big market for them. But we tend to select coffees that we actually like. And so, you guys are involved with those cuppings, with Diego and myself, and we're kind of, so we're having these kind of like pretty, interesting conversations around the cupping table where, something responds to us, and, generally we all agree that, yeah, this is good, but we might have different ideas about why it's good. So we've got one monthly coffee, and then seasonal coffee. So I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I'm buying a little bit too much seasonal coffee. I'm getting excited because there's a lot of really great coffee that's being put in front of me. So we're definitely in a buying mode right now. So we're buying some really delicious coffees, and sometimes it's just, it takes a lot of restraint to not get pulled into it. This morning I was like, I'm like, I'm gonna restrain myself. Then we've got our core coffees, the kind of year-round coffees that, the tried and trues that we've really, over the course of 10, 12, 15 years, we've been roasting these coffees for a while. They're a certain profile. Those coffees do change sometimes, but like Colombia, for instance, we've always had Colombia as our house drip. And it's because it's kind of smart to do that. It's widely available year-round, fresh coffee, sweet flavor profile, mild acidity, hints of citrus, toasted nuts, praline, that kind of thing. Just really nice, delicious coffee, chuggable all day long sort of coffee.
Yeah.
And we have, so we really like that kind of as a baseline, but then we've got, kind of a light, medium, dark, the Guji and the, night shift. Night shift takes care of it. If we're not roasting it, I don't particularly like dark coffee, but if we don't roast it, somebody else will. and so we also need to drive revenue. So that's part of it. And so we've got not only ourselves, but we've got 45 or 50 other people that are counting on Patricia and I to make good decisions, and so that we can all pay our bills and continuing to enjoy working here. But more and more, we're finding that it's really interesting. It's more interesting. Like we get we get containers of coffee, and it's okay. It's fine. But we find more and more often that the more interesting sort of narratives happen at like a coffee like this, where this coffee was brought to us, or we got this coffee through Nikolai First, who I met at Blendon in Houston. Just kind of like, he was there handing out coffee samples to the people at Blendon. I'm like, who the fuck are you? Like, what are you doing? Tell me your story. I'm curious about you. And so we connected there. Really interesting guy. German expat, married to a Colombian woman. And then he's doing a little bit of farming himself and processing. But he's aggregating these younger, more interesting farmers. Coffees that we've gotten. So this is one of his coffees from Liliana Ramirez. So let's try it.
Yeah. I mean, I've been drinking it, so
I was sitting there smelling it. I had to go for it.
That's really nice.
Honestly, yeah. Well, and that's one of the things as we see. I mean, obviously, I know we saw it, World of Coffee this year, that I feel like everyone's kind of doing co-ferments right now. And it's really nice to have a washed coffee like this that still is super, honestly packs a really nice punch to it.
Yeah. Perfect temperature too. As Diego would say, it's good. I like it. So yeah, I mean, it's good. I like it for sure. Really nice. There's that buttery tropical sort of stuff going on that's really nice. Nice caramelization. Sweet, clean finish, really good. Yeah. I think, and very kind of nice, clean cup clarity to it.
Yeah, it's really clean without being too light. There's definitely a good syrupy mouthfeel.
Syrupy, yeah.
A little bit of floral kind of lightness to it, without being overpowering.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming by, spending time. I know it's a far cry from your desk out.
Oh my god, like what, 30 feet away.
But honestly, it's always fun to just shoot the shit and drink some coffee with you.
Yeah.
Thanks, boss.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.